guys, welcome back to the channel. I've got something new for you today. I've partnered up with Ego app, which is an esports fantasy platform, and I'd love for you to engage for two reasons. One, there's a knife up for grabs and there's about 80 people competing for it right now, so the odds are very good to win. Plus it's ESL Impact, so it's something I care a lot about and would love to talk about. Obviously you can apply this knowledge elsewhere, but this video is going to be focused on the Ego app. I've dropped a link below to join the league. It's free to play, and I appreciate if you use the link as it shows that I referred you. And you can also play along as I show you my Impact fantasy. The main things to be aware of with Ego Fantasy is that it borrows some elements from fantasy football. So two key things to note is that you can sell players. So I think for this event you get 2 sell tokens. So every day before the first game starts, you can actually sell a player and get a new one. So if your players are eliminated, you aren't out completely, which is quite good because it keeps you engaged rather than feeling like your team is dead, which often happens to me in fantasy. You also get a captain who gets an extra 50% point bonus, so 1.5 times points. And again, this is something you can change every day. So if the player you chose for captain's not doing well, you put on someone else. Again, cool feature that kind of keeps you coming back to it, which is quite nice. There's a point system as well, but essentially the way it works, play does good, more points. Makes sense. ESL Impact always runs the same format. It's a 3-day event with 2 groups of 4, opening best of 1s, and it's best of 3s for elimination. The top 2 from each group go through to the playoffs, which is single elimination. And if I was to do a tier list, the teams by likelihood to win the event overall, it would go Enigma Galaxy, NAVI Javelins, Furia, FlyQuest Red, Unbanned Fearless, Fluxer Demons, HSG, and then Shimmer. Looking at the groups though, and then factoring in the openers, I think Enigma and NAVI should easily top their groups. They have the highest seeds, so they're going with the easiest opening games. I do think the other 2 games have upset potential, and I could see Fluxo or 9Pandas winning those matches. And honestly, I think with the way it shows on Wikipedia, the teams that are in green are the ones that are most likely to go to playoffs. So Enigma, FlyQuest, Navi, and Furia, just based on the results for the last 6 months. So that said, we can take a look at the draft. Once you join the league, make sure you join the Lazy Impact League. That's the one you need to be in to win the knife. It looked like this. You'll have your team appear here, and that's what you do with drafting. You get a $1,000 budget. Players range from $170 to $219. You can range by team. You can range by pick percentage, which is a really cool feature. I love knowing who's not picked much because I really like picking like the underpicked players. And you can also sort by costs. So that's obviously useful for finding out who's cheap, who's expensive, that sort of thing. We'll sort by team and we'll go through who I think are the good picks. Starting with 9Pandas Fearless. They're a pretty good underdog team. They make playoffs relatively consistently. Victoria is the AWPer. She's pretty cheap at $190, so I can see why she's a pretty popular pick. Shu is also a really good choice. She's pretty cheap. Her and Fatal are normally the 2 players that we look at on LAN as being the best players in this team. Although Taddy surprisingly does pretty well. I think she came to this team a bit later than the others, but has been putting up some pretty good performances. Furia, it's crazy to me that no one has picked Gabby. She's been insanely good for Furia this year. She's stepped up a lot with Olga's departure. So I think if Furia win, whoever picks Gabby, they're winning the knife for sure. I think Furia just generally aren't getting picked a lot, which is surprising because they're looking really good. But I suspect it's because they are pretty expensive. But a good pick to choose if you want to go for the knife because not many people are picking them. Fluxo, a lot more popular. Their pricing is a lot more reasonable. I love them a lot, but they have been struggling this year. Very fun team to watch. Nani and Younger are probably the 2 players I would combo here. Younger, $204, so a little bit more expensive, but she's their AWPer, most consistent player. Nani, very consistent rifler as well. You can combo the 2 of them quite cheap too, so I think that's the way I would go with that. And again, Younger's a great choice because not many people are picking her. FlyQuest Red, K-Day, and Bibian are the stars. I think Goose has been quite good this season, but with Bibian being like $2 more and playing all the star rifle roles, she's definitely the choice. One of the best players in the scene generally. A little bit biased because she's Australian, but yeah, great choice if you think FlyQuest are going to win. HSG, they've made top 4 before, but they're always risky. However, Olga is a superstar. Pretty expensive, but insanely good player. Will always put up numbers. Argent, very cheap. I think the cheapest player in the draft, so I can see why people are picking her. They're an underdog team, but very low odds of actually winning the event, so I wouldn't mind the $170 Argent dip, but probably wouldn't bet on this team, even if I was going for an underdog draft. Navi, it's hard to go wrong with this team. There's no real weak point. on them in terms of their LAN performance, I would probably push towards VQ or Angelica. Generally, when it comes to LAN, those two step up more than the rest of the players in the team. VQ is just a crazy good AWPer, and Angelica has got this very fiery presence in the server. She's a hype woman of the team, so when she gets going, she like really gets going. So they're obviously the most expensive players, but for good reason. Nigma Galaxy. If you draft Nigma, you have to draft Anna. I don't really see any way around it. If they win the event, which they probably will, she's going to be the one that performs the best. 23 and Tori are probably a close second. It's kind of hard to call who will be the right pick because they're a team where like any of the individuals can have a carry performance, but Tori is super underpicked. So I think she's a great choice because of that. I think it's only because she's like slightly more expensive than 23, but honestly, worth it because no one's picking her and she's a really good player. Shimmer, incredibly risky. I personally wouldn't draft them. They just changed IGL like 6 weeks ago. They've got some good players. Obviously, Empathy is very solid, but I can't see them making it out of groups. Now, because Nigma Galaxy are the favorites and because there's a knife on the line, I'm not going to draft them. Instead, I'm going to be going into NAVI as my team to win the whole event. So, of course, I'm going to pick VQ and Angelica. Best two players in the team, especially when it comes to LAN. So I'll put all my eggs into the NAVI basket. Obviously can't change it if things, go wrong. I have spent a lot of money here, and if NAVI do fall apart, I can sell them both and go into Nigma Galaxy, but I'm feeling good about NAVI. For my second team now, I would have liked to have gone FlyQuest Red. They're a little bit too expensive. So instead, I'm going to go a second team from Group B. That's going to be 9 Pandas. Now, very kind of out there choice, especially because these two teams will play each other. But if they end up first and second in their group, 9 Pandas will be on the other side of the bracket, and there's a chance then that they meet in the grand final, a chance potentially that I could win based on that. And I'm going to be going Victoria, 190. Kind of feel like you can't not pick her if you're going in on this team. And then Shu, as I mentioned, very good on LAN, great player overall, and I feel like at that price, she's a bit of a steal. Leaves me with $186, which gives me just enough to get Nani, who, in terms of Fluxo players, I think is actually the second best choice, despite being third most expensive. I think she's actually second cheapest, surprisingly. I think she's incredible, very consistent rifler, so I'm happy with that choice. That's going to be my team: VQ, Angelica, Victoria, Shu, and Nani. Obviously, with VQ as the captain. I might change that if Angelica starts performing better, but I think VQ just coming in as the highest rated player of all the players here, so she's the one that I want with the captain booster to begin with. So that's going to be that one, locking it in. So I'm interested to see kind of how this fantasy platform works. I'm going to be playing it over the rest of the event, maybe changing some players depending how it goes, but changing captain, all that sort of thing. Excited to give it a go. Won't be replacing my regular fantasy stuff, so don't worry, but when they said they wanted to jump on this for ESL Impact, I of course had to do it. So let me know your thoughts, let me know your draft, and make sure you join with the link below. And of course, best of luck.